Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us. I'm Pastor Jason, and this is the first of what should be several devotionals that we put out for everybody this week. So glad that you decided to join us. And here at the front end of Holy Week, we're stepping into it. I have a confession to make, which feels especially appropriate because, well, we've been doing confession together every week lately. So you'd think I'd be getting pretty good at it at this point. Turns out, I still have plenty to confess. And this one is a little more personal. I've been spending a lot of time in Leviticus. Not just me, my kids too. Our whole family's been reading Leviticus together, which means I've been answering questions like, Dad, why are there so many rules? And are we supposed to do this? And honestly, they're fair questions. Also, if you choose to read Leviticus with kids, know that there could be several moments that don't exactly land as deeply spiritual. And for us, it's the repeated sacrifice instructions. There's this line that we've heard so many times now that we can feel it coming before it even gets there. And right on cue, Gideon starts saying it with me, the long lobe of the liver. And immediately Evie's head drops and Judah starts laughing and Lily's like, no, not again. And eyes roll and everybody's groaning and laughing. And honestly, I get it because Leviticus can feel like that part of the Bible reading plan where your enthusiasm might start tapering off a little bit. But there is this phrase that's going to be showing up again and again, and it's be holy because I am holy. And when you hear that, it can feel a little intimidating, right? Like, okay, God, define holy because right now I'm just trying to get through Monday. But at its core, holy just means set apart, different, belonging to God. We talked about this with the kids too, all through Exodus and now in the Leviticus. There are very special instructions about what it set apart and what to be set apart and what are common things. So we've talked about this, like fine china, the dishes that only come out for special occasions. You don't treat those the same way that you treat everyday plates. So in the same way, God's showing us, his people, that there's a difference between what is ordinary and what is holy. And that's difference isn't just about being picky. It's about recognizing that God himself is distinct. He's not created. He's set apart, completely other, completely worthy, and completely worthy of honor. And if God really is that set apart, that different, well, then following him probably means we don't just live like everyone else either. And that's what's been sticking with me, especially because I've also been reading Sacred Pathways by Gary Thomas, and he talks about something called the ascetic pathway. Now, ascetics are the people who connect with God through discipline, simplicity, self-denial, very un-American. And they're like, let's remove distractions, let's fast, let's embrace discomfort. And I'm like, or we could not do that. It actually sounds a lot like my current attempt to lose weight, discipline, saying no to things that I enjoy, saying yes to things that I don't enjoy, all for a greater purpose. And I don't like it either. But I also know that I need it. Like, I feel especially spiritually connected to God when I've got a cup of coffee or with good lighting or in a comfortable chair. But this idea has been challenging me because ascetics emphasize something important, being more disciplined with yourself and more gentle with others. And here's where Leviticus surprised me. Right in the middle of all those laws about holiness, sacrifices, and all of it, you find this little gem. Love your neighbor as yourself. That's Leviticus. Who knew? Which means from the very beginning, God's idea of holiness wasn't just about rules. It was about relationships. And if I'm honest, I tend to flip that sometimes. I can be pretty gentle with myself. Oh, I deserve this. It's been a long day. I'll try this again tomorrow. But with other people, I can be less than gracious, quicker to judge, a lot less patient. Is there anybody else here who can relate? I guess I'm the one on camera, but we then came to Holy Week and we see Jesus and he flips it completely. He is incredibly serious about his mission. There's nothing casual about what he's walking towards. He's disciplined. He's focused, fully surrendered. But at the same time, he's unbelievably gentle with his people. He kneels down and washes disciples' feet. He looks at Peter, knowing Peter is about to deny him and still loves him. Jesus weeps over a city that's rejecting him. And even on the cross, he says, Father, forgive them. That's holiness. Not just being set apart, but being set apart in love. So maybe this week the goal isn't to suddenly become ultra intense, super disciplined, monastery level spiritual overnight, but maybe it's an invitation to take a step. What would it look like for you to be a little more intentional in your pursuit of God this week? Maybe you turn down the noise. Maybe you give something up, not because you have to, but just to create some space. Maybe you sit in a little more quiet than usual, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. And at the same time, what would it look like to be a little more gentle with others, a little more patient, a little more forgiving, a little slower to react? Because if we're going to walk with Jesus through this week, we don't just follow him to the cross and what he did, we follow him in how he lived, fully devoted to God and completely full of grace. So let's step into Holy Week like that, maybe a little less comfortable, but a lot more Christ-like. And as you think about that this week, I want to invite you into a couple really tangible ways to practice it. On Friday, we'll have our vigil in the garden, a space to come and simply pray in silence. And I'll be honest, that can feel a little uncomfortable. Silence as a way of revealing how much noise we're used to and how hard it is to just be still before God. But that's exactly the kind of space where God often meets us. That same night, we'll also gather for our Tenebrae service, a time to reflect on the weight and darkness of the cross. It's not loud and it's not flashy, but it's meaningful. And maybe that's the invitation for some of us this week, to step into something a little quieter, a little more intentional, even a little uncomfortable, so that we can be more clearly like Jesus. So whether it's in a quiet moment or at home, or joining us on Friday night, let's make space. Let's lean in and let's walk with him all the way to the cross and ultimately to the resurrection.